Everybody sits away.
Rick's the only one in the.
Your host, and I serve as the True Team Chairman.
It's not my fault.
My Class A Director for the True Team is Rory Forbanks from Hutchinson for the girls. And my Class A Boys Director is James Schreiner from Shock Rapids. The Class AA Girls Director is Jeff Mays from Edina. And the AA Boys Director is Scott Johnson from Edina. Let's start with welcome and introductions. And Todd, if you'd please pan the camera, people can introduce themselves.
Okay, do the other way. Nate Youngs, girls president, and Daskell Cato, boys and girls.
Marshall, Farmington girls.
Chris Arzeth, Southwest, boys and girls.
Todd Walsh, Bloomington Kennedy Boys and Girls, Executive Secretary of the Association.
Doug Donaldson, Coon Rapids Boys and Girls, President, Boys Association.
Tanya Iverson, girls Simley.
Thank you. Welcome to the meeting, everybody. It's great to have you here. I should also add that Chris has two other roles here at the True Team meeting. He's our state meet manager for the True Team meets, and he also serves as the coordinator and chairman of our scholarship committee for the Coaches Association. All right. We're going to confirm the dates. We have our True Team meets for the girls on Saturday, October 6th. And the True Team state meets are going to be held Saturday, October 13th. This is 1 week up from where we previously were based on the availability of the aquatic center. The state meet for Class A is going to start at noon with warm-ups. Swimming competition will start at 1 p.m. The AA meet warm-ups will start at 5 p.m. and the swimming competition will start at 6 p.m. Chris, you can confirm those dates?
Yep, and I'll confirm them and kind of give a, I guess, backdrop on exactly why we're 1 week earlier than the MEA week. It's due to initially football is driving the thing, but there is not a football game on MEA weekend, but there is a swimming meet on that weekend that the U of M is hosting that they had to move due to football on another date. So. The U of M would prefer if we did not do weekday or meets during the week, so that's why it is on the weekend, on one day.
All right, then we go to the boys season, and the True Team meets will take place on Saturday, January 19th, and the True Team state meet will be on Saturday, January 26th, which is our traditional date. Same time schedule for A and AA state meets. And you can also confirm that at this time?
That's correct.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion to accept the True Team dates for this year?
I move to accept.
Second.
And Jen. Okay. We have the confirmation of our True Team host schools. This is the most.
Should we vote on that?
Oh, all those, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All those in favor of accepting that?
Aye.
All those opposed, no? All right. I appreciate the assistance. All right, let's go to our host schools. This is the most current listing of what we know for our host schools. We have, we always have a few sections that are just a little tough to shake out. And right now we're worried about section 2A for both boys and girls. And we believe Becker's a pretty solid choice in 5A girls. But those things will sort out, and I know how to get that done. I just ask for the ADs to assess me in those sections if we run into issues. Sometimes I have to wait for the new coaches to be listed online at the state high school site, and that doesn't happen until sometime in July. Do I have a motion to accept the host schools?
I motion to accept those schools.
I'll second.
Vote.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
on page 2.
Rick, can I add something for the
You
girls A and boys A? I think the section 2 is going to be, I think you may get a confirmation on the girls' side, but I'm not exactly sure for the boys' side for Orono because they're going to have a brand new coach.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, it's still up in the air.
Yep, I know that, and I was a little concerned about who that would be.
And is realignment after this year?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
And it'll just be a minor one, not a total revamp of.
I don't think so. Or I mean,
Hoping for a total revamp.
All right,
Me too.
we'll go over to page 2. And on page 2, you'll find a breakdown of the True Team finances and the positive flow. Last year, the positive flow on True Team finances was $8,981.59. There is a slight fluctuation there. We generally are in the $8,000 to $9,000 range. A couple of times we've been over that. And the difference in the fluctuation has a great deal to do with the vendor and how they select what shirts they're going to sell. If they do a really good job of choosing popular colors and sizes that tend to match the colors of the schools that are in the meet, then we sell a great deal of those shirts. And if they don't do such a good job, then we kind of take a little hit. Last year, they went big into hoodies because they ran out the year before, and last year hoodies weren't a big deal. So, and they went to a camo thing.
Oh, I remember
That's
that.
what I
Yeah,
know.
and they thought camo was going to be all the rage, and apparently not indoors. It's not an indoor thing. It's kind of an outdoor thing. So,
Not for swimmers.
yeah. So we're pleased with that. Keeps us in a positive flow as an association. The above money has been earned to subsidize a portion of the price of the awards to the section meet host to assist the funding of the Coaches Association annual scholarships and to increase the Coaches Association general fund and activities. And I know this year we used some of it to help our clinic spruce up a little bit and bring in more speakers, which was a good thing. And kudos should go to Chris for the excellent job he does also setting up the clinic for us. All right, may I have a motion to accept our finance report for this year?
So moved.
Second.
And second by Nate. First by motion made by Jen. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
One thing that you may want to mention in the minutes, and it just dawned on me, Kate will be directly billing the schools because what she does now anyways is I give her the list of teams and she sends a bill out anyways. So there is going to be no formal contract or anything. She's just going to send them a bill for the participation in the state meet, the entry fee for the state meet. So
She started that this last year. And she said
for boys, yes. So
And she
just
said
eliminating
taking a
one
step
step
up.
out of in the process.
She's taken one more step out of it, and she said that she had a much more success
Yeah.
in payment.
There's just no way that we can send a paper contract, but there's not a. If you try to go through our school, then what ends up happening is then the AD sends the check to whoever generated it out of our school, so it doesn't go to the association. It goes to.
Thanks for that
said
information.
school.
And we should also mention that Kate does a great job of keeping her books for our association. And sometimes she's really quick, but she's always very accurate and very professional in how she does things. So we really appreciate what she does. All right, section meet and state meet issues. We always ask our host schools to personally contact all of the teams in their section and encourage them to attend the meet. Participation in the True Team Meets is purely voluntary. Schools may opt in or opt out. However, if they want to host, they have to be involved to be a host and get a rotation for each school. At the Spring Clinic Association business meeting, a poll was taken regarding the use of tech suits at the state meets. It was brought to my attention by Jeff Mace, the coach at Edina, that he felt that it was inappropriate for tech suits to be used at the True Team Meets because it was causing an escalation that was unfair heed to all competitive schools. And so we brought it up at the meeting, and the vote was taken, and it was 37-0 in favor of there being no restrictions for the use of tech suits at True Team Meets. Any discussion?
I think the association has spoken.
All right.
Members.
Flyover starts at the True Team Meets. Brian Luke brought this to my attention in an email because he was unable to attend today. And Brian expressed his feelings of not being in favor of True Team. Flyover starts at True Team like they do at club meets. Has anybody heard anybody mention this or talk about this?
Well, it's always a topic of discussion at any of those larger meets at the U of M. And I think it's more geared from the official standpoint on making sure that staying true to a timeline. But I know that the consensus has always been no, just because of the fact that there are, we have kids that are familiar with them and we have kids that are not. So it's just better to go without them. And I mean, honestly, we're really not saving in a True Team setting, really not saving.
Because the heats are pretty close.
Yeah, we're not saving a ton of time. I mean, 15 minutes maybe at the most, I would think, over the course of an event like that.
And honestly, the meet times out very well with diving right now.
Yeah.
And if we did take that time out of the meet, it might create a scrunch.
And I think the one of Brian's concerns is, and he's voiced this at all of the pre-meet meetings, is that, it's a championship, quasi-championship meet. So, let's give the kids an opportunity to swim and not speed it up.
Yeah.
And leave it at the pace that it goes at.
For the kids swimming, most kids are swimming 4 events. It's nice to not necessarily slow it down, but keep it at a reasonable pace.
Right. And I agree with Brian on the championship meet. I don't think there's a time crunch that we aren't handling at this point in time. This was new to me. Nobody else had brought it to my attention.
It's usually discussed it's usually brought up, not as much in the last few years, but it's usually brought up at the coaches meeting. Somebody will ask.
They'll ask if we're going to do flyover starts.
It doesn't make sense. Why in the middle of the season would we start doing them at that meet when you don't do them all season?
For any kid who just swims high school, they wouldn't get it and they wouldn't understand.
Right.
All right. Section meet entry fees. In 2014, we increased them from 95 to 105. Does anybody feel there's a need for a change? I think we're positively and our financials are in a positive flow. Personally, I don't see a need for a change, but I like to keep the time and date that we did that. So at which time we do it, we keep a record of it. The current price for the True Team Wolfram Trophy Plus is about $7,861. That covers 34 meets. That breaks down to $231 per meet. And we have been invoicing the True Team sections $170, and we reduced that based on our financial contract with Elsmore Aquatic. And from 2014, we lowered it from $190 to $170 for the awards.
Where are you getting 34 meets from?
You have all the section meets for girls and boys, and then you have the True Team state meets.
Oh, 2.
That's only 32 then.
You have 4.
But there's
State. And
there's
only
4 state meets.
Oh, yeah. My bad, sorry.
Yeah.
Got it.
Doesn't matter.
It is.
All right, you have your summer brain
Summer
now.
brain, yep.
Yeah, you have teacher summer brain.
Did you
That's
wanna
how that
cover-
works.
I think you missed letter A.
The pardon?
Oh, Chris suggested it.
Oh, it's-
Oh, no, you're right.
I didn't hear us discuss letter A at number 5.
No, we didn't, and we should do that.
6:13.
Let's finish the financials here. And then in 2014, we imposed a $30 late fee after 30 days. And I think that was a good thing. The new item that we want to talk about for this, the state meet, is that it was brought up by Chris at the business meeting at the clinic when we were talking about access to the University of Minnesota for our True Team state meet. Chris asked, does holding the True Team state meets at the University of Minnesota supersede the selection of the date? So for example, in the girls this year, we moved that meet up a week to gain access to the University of Minnesota versus moving to a different site. And Brian expressed his opinion in his email and said that he felt that holding the meet at the University of Minnesota was paramount.
Same place as the state high school.
Yes,
I think it's important.
I would concur with everybody at the table. Does anybody have any different feelings on that? I think we did move to Edina with one Class A meet for the girls because the University of Minnesota was not available at one time. However, we do have some additional options. The new Chanhassen pool is going to have over 500 seats when it opens this fall. And that'll be the biggest, that'll place it right there with Rochester as far as size as an auditorium, and it would be a metro location.
Not sure about deck space.
Deck space is going to be a little tighter, yes. All right. Do I have a motion to accept the section and state meet issues?
I'll move to accept.
I'll second.
All right. We have our True Team scholarships. We have the Trapper Gym Scholarship, the MSI, Swimming Incorporated, and
We
the,
should vote. Sorry, we should vote.
all those in favor? Thank you. All those in favor of accepting? Say aye. Aye. And those opposed, same sign. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I guess I'm gonna claim summer brain too.
Retired brain.
Yeah.
We're on sponsorship.
Sponsorship.
Okay, yes, we'll go on. Sponsorships, Trapper Gym is our original sponsor for the True Team. MSI Minnesota Incorporated gives us a $1,000 check each year to sponsor True Team Swimming. Ellsmore Aquatic shares 33% of the gross apparel sales at the Minnesota, with us as a coaches association. And that's the reason that we are able to run at a positive cash flow for True Team. I've spoken to our sponsors, and at this time I know that they're all on board. And for this year, MSI does go year to year, and the feeling is that they will be back, but we have to wait for that actual vote to take place. But they feel good about their relationship with high school swimming at this time, and I think it's a great ovation on their part to be involved in our True Team and to try to have this feeling that swimming is a cooperative effort in the state of Minnesota. So that's a good thing. So pretty good. We accept our sponsors for the next year. May I have a motion?
I motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say same sign. Okay. True Team scholarships. I'll let Chris delineate what's going on with our scholarships.
It's, we've been at about the same number for the last 3 years as far as applications go. It's anywhere from 22 to, I think our highest was 27 kids that have applied. Previously, not this year, but last year, there was more young men that applied than girls, which was a first in a long time. It's usually primarily girls that are applying, and it seems to be more single A girls. I know last year we had talked at the business meeting about just picking the best. We scored on a rubric. Kelly Boston from Eden Prairie, myself, and Ken Huber from Faribault scored, and we talked about just picking the 4 highest scoring people if we had to, but we always try to look for 1 girl from Class A, 1 girl from Class AA, 1 boy from A, and 1 boy from AA is what our first thing that we try to look for. If we don't have enough, I think there was 1 year we might have had 1 or 2 boys from single A's, so that's why we changed it up a little bit, but it's going well. The kids really appreciate it. We've gotten emails and cards that we've shared at the business meeting, which has made it really rewarding to read those things. But I'll tell you, it's really a tough go to pick the kids because they all are very, very good. The applications are really well written, and the recommendations are really stellar. So it becomes a task, I should say, to choose because they all really deserve it. And I think that it's a good thing for our association to do, to give back to the kids that have given so much to us as coaches. So
Thank you for your work. Thank you for mentioning that Ken Gilbert and Kelly Boston is on that. And I believe Ken designed the rubric, did he not?
No.
No, you did that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And I know the form we borrowed, the basic form.
Yeah, I took bits and pieces from about 3 or 4 different.
Mhm. From things.
Yeah.
Kind of the original was from the leagues.
Yep.
AAA. And that pretty much covers everything you could possibly be in to get those things done. So thank you so much. May I have a motion to accept
So
our
moved.
scholarships?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right. True team diving policy. This wouldn't be a true team meeting if we didn't talk about diving. It has dominated many of our discussions over the years. But just to reiterate that the diving policy is that divers choose a 6 dive or an 11 dive list. There are some tactical decisions to be made as a coach in making that selection. The required dive is from the Minnesota State High School list that's published on the league website. So it's just a straight up go. We did have some coaches that were concerned that they didn't like the fact that it was possible for somebody with an 11 dive list to pass somebody who chose to do 6 dives. And kind of the reaction was, well, you should have done 11 dives. And obviously, if you're not doing 11, you're not doing 11 because you're not capable of doing 11. So there are some rewards for being able to do additional dives in the scoring process because they're scored directly against each other. Is there any other discussion regarding diving at this time? Jen, you're kind of our diving diva, so
You can tell my dad that too. No.
I think I got that from him.
Oh, okay. No, nothing to add.
All right. Go ahead.
Do you feel that the current way that we do diving as far as taking place at the time that it does, and I don't think there's really any other options, but has anybody came forward with any other ideas on how to do diving?
No. I think people are so used to it now because they want to. I think the divers want to be part of the swimming meet and the swim. You know what I mean? So it's all together.
It works pretty well, and the officials watch very carefully for when they start races that there's not a diver on the board. And the other thing that we could run into is we might have kids that swim and dive, in which case the swimming schedule would take precedence over the diving, and then they would be re-feathered back in. And we've done that, I believe.
Every meet.
Yeah. So that works out real well. Okay, do I have a motion to accept the diving policy? We did that, anybody, and we voted on it. Okay, great. let's go to, no, that was, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second is Doug, Donaldson, and all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, true team business. Just to kind of reiterate what happened in the past, our association took over hosting the True Team page in 2017, and Todd's done a good job keeping that up. We also put in a penalty for not following the True Team charter that has been enacted, which is posted on the True Team page. Most schools will then pay full price for the awards.
Have there been
And
many of those?
we have not had any of those, not since we put that in.
What does that mean?
Pardon?
Co-ops or parent shares?
It was a parent share issue that kind of went away in the last.
When the league came out with their rule, it kind of took
Okay.
care of
Yeah.
that.
But it does kind of it's a blanket thing that applies to everything that's in the charter. So it's a good thing to have there so people understand that they have to do things the right way and follow the rules. In 2017, the True Team State Meet Advance Form was added to the section host responsibilities, which is really good. And in many cases, what host schools have done is they've started to set up a Google Doc and for the people in their section so they can have all that completed before they even show up at the meet, which is really nice. What we want, and I personally like it in the coach's handwriting, because when it did become an issue, it was pretty apparent that the coach wrote no, that he didn't want to go to the state meet and signed it. And we had his signature and no there, and it was pretty clear cut.
Yeah, but on the Google Doc, you can track who entered it and won, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can still track that.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
That's a good thing. All right. True Team Committee business, do I have a motion to accept?
I'll move to accept.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, state meet medal inventory. We have excessively ordered medals based on the fact that sometimes we run into teams that have over 100 kids versus the typical team will have around 30, give or take a dozen. And then we'll have teams where Wayzata would, when they won, they had over 100 kids, and Stillwater will typically have over 100 kids. Sometimes they've been in the 120s. And we have to have those medals on hand for those kids. So we have kind of ordered and built up a supply. At this time, we have enough medals on hand to not have to order medals for the girls' season this year. And so that's going to be my recommendation, is that we do not buy medals for the state meet for the girls' season and then make a standard order for the boys' season. And then we can reassess next year and see where we're at. All right? Do we have a motion?
I'll definitely make a motion.
Chris will make that motion.
They're all at your house?
I have to lug them around.
I have a question.
They're getting lighter.
Question about that.
Yep.
So,
Discussion?
so if I have 78 girls on my team and only 40 of them swim at meet, all 78 girls get a medal, or only the girls that swim?
All right, the Coaches Association will give you a medal for every kid that's in the meet. If you'd like additional medals, you can buy them. That's
Okay.
what we've done.
So like if somebody had 100 and some, all those 100 girls would have to swim.
No.
No. So let's say you have 40 girls that swim in the meet, but you have 100 girls on your team.
You could buy 60.
Then you could buy 60 at $3
And you
or
just want to
whatever
have
a pop.
Mhm.
Okay, I get it, thanks.
And then
And-
they can be a part of the ceremony at the end of the
Sure.
meet.
Be on deck.
Right, and I'd like to actually make another consideration. Rather than sending a school an invoice for 5 to 8 to 10 medals, because a lot of times they'll say, I want my managers to have a medal, or, I have these other 5 kids that came. I think that our finances bear the fact that we can afford for those medals to be given to those kids that have been with the team the whole year. I think when we start running into buying 60 or 70 medals, I don't know if we could, if the association should bear that responsibility. But I'd like to see that, up to 10 medals be provided to the team at no charge.
Additional.
Additional beyond
Instead of
those.
having to come up with a invoice and track down the money for
That's probably-
$30 or something.
Yeah. That's what I'd like to be take under consideration.
Makes sense.
And that would simplify the bookkeeping of this and sending out the invoices and make additional work for Kate.
So once they hit 11,
Once they hit 11, they would pay for the 11th.
so anything after 10.
Anything after 10, or,
So then we bill for
So you'd have
$3.
10 fluff for every team.
yeah, there's fluff, there's a 10, there's a cushion of 10.
But if someone wants 12, do they pay for all 12 or just 2?
Okay,
Well,
No,
that's
they
two-
pay
two.
for 2.
That's
Pay for
$6
two.
invoice.
It's a $6 invoice. But the 10,
Yeah.
the truth of the matter is the 10 will cover 95% of what
That's
we're
nice.
dealing, 95 what we're dealing. If somebody's going greater than 10, Todd, they're usually buying 30 or 40. That's kind of where it breaks out at this time.
Let's tell them they have to pay cash on deck if they want, like.
That's the Stillwater model. Stillwater carries the checkbook and they
Yeah,
write the
they do.
check right there.
That's awesome.
They really do. And they want everybody to be involved and included. So could I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to provide 10 additional medals at no cost or no charge to.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. And then I also have a motion on the table from Chris to not order medals for the season this year.
Oh, yeah.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. All right. Do we have any additions for our agenda today?
I would like to talk about exhibitioning. Came up in our section 2 AA this year. I believe the host team handled it appropriately and correctly by offering a discussion on whether or not we wanted to allow exhibitioning. We ended up not, because there was a team that had good rationale for why we shouldn't have exhibition, because it changes the meet, where you have kids, in Heat 1 that are on their true team, swimming against kids who are exhibition on other teams, right? As I look through our charter does say each school shall enter up to 4 individuals and 4 relay teams per event. It does not say that the host team can do exhibition if they want to and run it as their own invite. I know many years ago when we had this discussion here, the team that wanted to do that, who isn't present, said that it's their invite and they should be able to run it the way they want to. So I think that's, it has come to me from other sections where people feel that it's not appropriate to have exhibition swimming at this meet, as it doesn't say it in our charter unless I'm missing it.
I will say that in our section, we fill the slowest heat, and that's the only exhibition there is. And it's put out to all coaches and say, if you want one, send it to us and we'll do some sort of lottery. But it's only to fill the first heat.
Is it first come, first serve, or I mean, how do you
He
delineate
takes all the
who gets-
people who want, put another person in, and then he just kind of doles out.
like
kind of
this
fairly.
person's got, this team gets
Yeah,
5 extra swim, this team gets
I'll
5
be
extra
honest,
swim
usually it's
based on-
just me and Hutch that have extra people to fill those seats.
So as being a coach who has primarily Heat 1 swimmers, I would say that it doesn't make the Heat 1 swimmers feel like, I mean, what's our motto? That everyone's, what is it?
Every athlete counts.
Every athlete counts. Doesn't make you feel like you count if you're swimming against kids who don't qualify as their true team.
I'll be honest, I don't think anybody knows, because it's not, they don't tell, like, they don't broadcast in lane 1, 3, and 6 is exhibition, or 1, 8. They fill the outside.
So program
lanes.
is, you fill
They're
it
not even
after
in
the
the
fact.
program. They're not even in the
You don't
program.
see them and you don't seed them.
Don't see them, they're not in the
So
program.
they're always
They
seeded.
just fill the outside lanes of the slow
Yeah,
heat.
so then you go in there thinking you're going to be in lane 4, 5, 6, 3.
You
And all of a
stay.
sudden
You
there's,
stay.
No, you
No, no,
stay.
but I see
but all
what
of a
you're
sudden there's
saying,
kids next to you
that are faster,
that are faster.
Yeah, it could be.
and it could be significantly faster.
They could be the same or slower, but oftentimes,
In our
depending on
section,
who
they
that
would have
team is,
been
they could be
significantly
significantly
faster.
faster.
And so, again, I feel like our section handled it well. We decided not to have exhibition swimming, but I do know that there are teams that are disappointed that this is allowed.
This is something that we've talked about repeatedly at our True Team summer meetings. And at the time, we had people at the table who really felt it was important to fill lanes. There were people that said it's not appropriate to add additional heats. And at that time, we left the autonomy to each section to have a discussion. And that the feeling is that if somebody's against it, and they had an overwhelming feeling in their section that it should be against, that the sections could handle it. And it sounds like your section did handle it appropriately.
Right, and it sounds to me like the section that this happened in didn't have a discussion about it because this is the way it always has been. But when we reform sections, we should reevaluate policy.
Could it be
I
a
think-
unanimous vote at the section meeting?
I think that's where the problem
Right.
develops, is when the sections get realigned, there's no
Consistency.
consistency. So this section may do it one way, but this section has done it another way for years. And then you get either people that move in or move out, and then there isn't a discussion then reestablished on what you want to do. It's like, oh, well, we've always done it that way, so we don't need to ask. I think that, I can see both sides of the argument. It's not necessarily good for the kids that are added that may be faster. You're not doing any service to either those kids or the kids that are already in the meet.
Right.
But I think that at least in the section that I'm in, it was brought upon as an opportunity to get, for the host school, to get more kids in the meet so that more parents would be there to work the event. And then after that, it evolved to, if there's any more teams that wanted to have exhibitions, have at it. The other thing is there's 2 sections in Class A that if you didn't allow it, you're having a dual meet.
Right.
And so I think that was the other reason why some teams opened it up in their sections, because there was maybe 3 teams, there may be 4, and so it ended up being just a dual meet that then no one was happy about doing.
That was
It
part of
wasn't
the
a
reason that
championship
we
format.
made this a discussion at the sections, because we had teams that were like, we got 2 teams. And we'd really like our JV to swim just to slow the meet down and then put more people in the stands and everybody can enjoy themselves. And I said, talk about it amongst yourselves, and if you can decide to do it. I think what we need to do is remind our meet hosts that those aren't their lanes to use. I think one team monopolizing that is incorrect and wrong, regardless of your rationale. I think that everybody should have an equal opportunity to open lanes. And I think that the discussions should take place
At the coaches meeting.
Well, it should,
Well,
it
it
should,
should
it
be
should
prior.
start,
Prior
it
to
should
the
start,
meeting.
it should start before, you shouldn't have that sprung on you, because you might have only brought your kids you have to meet. Whereas
Right.
if you knew you had 2 lanes available to you,
For instance, Rory and Carl, both Hutch and Wilmer, they send out an email ahead of time saying, these are, now we got the program set, these are the open lanes and these are the
right,
events.
who
Please
would like to bid on
send
these
me,
lanes?
send me names.
We do the same
And
thing.
I'll be honest, it's not usually my 5th fastest. In the 50 freestyle, if there's an open lane, it's not my 5th fastest 50 girl. It's a girl that's swimming in the 2 free relay, and that's her only event. So,
Or maybe not in the meet at all.
Right.
yeah,
I've been able to put my entire team in the meet, which is kind of important, because it is a true team meet. So even through exhibition, just getting my entire team, and I don't have a big team, but you can get extra relay. You can get, you get more splashes for kids, and then parents. Even if you're hosting or not hosting, it's still more involvement.
I think that what needs to get determined though is there needs to be a uniform way, if it's gonna be allowed, a uniform policy on how that is handled, whether it's at the beginning of the season, that all the coaches converse on it somehow, whether it's email or a phone conference or something, because I think that where the break is when there's a section realignment and teams move in and out of sections. Now, is there huge changes all the time? No, but there can be. There can be a team that comes in and a team that goes out. Team that goes out wants it the way that they've had it for 6-7 years. The team that comes in is like, well, wait a second, what's going on here? And then not only on top of that, you also have teams that move classification from A to AA or from AA to A. So I think then that creates a lot of disproportionate handling and management of the way that
And much of it
goes.
falls to the person who's hosting. It kind of falls on there.
And the hosts have to remember when it's being realigned, because we fell into that. So it was only my 2nd year coaching. This year, our old team or 2-team section, it was basically a triple dual meet type of thing. And we put everybody in, and whatever team you were at. So went to a new 2-team section. It's a bigger deal for that true team section. So I brought the whole team down with my 28 girls, thinking there's going to be an open lane. I can throw a girl into something, whether it's a relay or whatever. And then it was to my shock that this section doesn't do that. And that was my naivety too,
Right.
but it still would have been nice.
And the other thing is too that even if the teams are the same in the section, if I'm hosting at somewhere that's not capable of taking all those extra entries in, and my AD is on me about the time of the event, when you start adding a bunch of kids, that plays into the cards as well. So if you're on a rotation and all of a sudden it comes to Team X that has some very tight timelines on what their ADs expect for the meet to be done, that could play into the cards as well.
Yeah, it needs to be spelled out, because like in our case, we don't add any more heats, but there's no reason why, if you can add exhibition, some sections might want to add heats.
Sometimes they'll just add a 50,
Yeah.
because those are the same kids that
That's
swim the
what we
50
had,
all
yeah.
the time.
I think there just needs to be some
Draft some
dialogue. There should be some language in our charter to some extent. And obviously, you want to keep it gray. You don't want to mandate things, but there needs to be professional courtesy involved in when you're doing this.
I totally agree.
All right. So what I'm going to recommend is that we form a subcommittee and that we work out some language that would go into our charter, and it would be approved to go in the charter for next year because we would need to meet at that point in time. But for this year, it would just be added to the host, to the meet information and to the host school information, that each section basically has the autonomy to determine their exhibition policy. For example, only filling open lanes in the first heat, making sure that every school has equal access to those lanes. All right, and that if they're going to do something beyond that, then you would have to have a consensus within your section to do anything beyond what I just stated. All right, are people comfortable with that? I would recommend the subcommittee be Todd, Chris, and myself.
I motion for that.
All right. So, but it's not appropriate for me as the chair to make the motion.
Yep.
So,
I motion that we form a subcommittee of Todd, Chris, and Rick to discuss adding to our charter some language about exhibition that True Team section needs.
That would go into effect, what are we talking about, 1920?
no.
Are we talking 18, 19?
So this year, it wouldn't go in the charter until 20,
Okay.
but it would be, it wouldn't go into the charter until next summer meeting because we'd have to
We'd have to
vote on it.
propose it to the membership at the business meeting, don't you think?
We've been able to make True Team
Okay.
decisions here at this table and then respond to us. But I think it would be appropriate to discuss it at the meeting so that we get the feeling of people kind of the same way we did with the suit issue this year. And then I think that we can put it in the True Team meet information. And I'd like to put it in the meet information for this year. And I'd like to put it the whole school information so that they know they're expected to have a conversation with the host, with the schools in their section prior to the meet. And part of that has to happen on a fairly quick timeline because sometimes you don't know because schools will sit on the fence and they don't know if they're coming or not coming until you actually get their entries. Some schools sit on the fence and go, some say we're not coming right away. And others say, well, we'll tell you later.
But yeah, but at the coaches meeting at True Team, there should be a discussion.
Yeah, exactly. But what's going to happen at that meet should already have started.
Right.
What I'm trying to say, that's in the meet information. If there's open lanes, they'll be available to everybody.
Right.
Okay. Now they can do it electronically, decide who's going to fill those lanes, or they could do it that day. But I personally would like to do it electronically because I'd like to know, particularly if I'm the visiting school, I'd like to know if I'm bringing that kid or not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just to frame a reference, not to
Yeah,
take
I
more
agree.
time, but we voted in our section to have, it was brought up one year, we didn't allow it that year, and then the next year, well, we voted at that coaches meeting that year if we wanted to institute that for the next year, just to fill open lanes like Nate's sections do, not to add any additional heats. Everyone voted unanimously yes. So then the next year, we came up with a process where basically people send in their entries in order of preference. We draw out of a hat, and then you pick,
Who gets those lanes?
yeah, we have a third party that's our meet manager that is adding people into the lanes, and then he sends it back to each individual coach to say, this is who you got, and
But I would still want it to be equal access. I wouldn't want the same team drawn out of the hat 4 times.
no, it's not. He draws them in order, and then you pick in order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, but so we voted as a section to allow that, and that's just something that we've been doing now for 2 or 3 years, and it's worked out pretty well.
Okay.
So
So we're going to work on the language and for exhibition. And then I got a motion from Nate. Do I have a second?
I'll second the subcommittee.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, and then we may even have to delineate what a consensus means. That consensus means that everybody agrees that this is okay. It can't be, if there's one coach that's saying, I don't want any exhibition, then I think we have to say, respect that at that point in time at all. And that'll be different from one section to another. We just know that that's going to be the case. All right. Is there any other unfretted business for us today? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn
Do you have a date for next year?
For a meeting?
for this meeting?
Yeah.
Let's do a corresponding date.
Corresponding date would be the 18th of June, 2019. Does anybody want to take over hosting?
You do such a great job.
Okay.
We want to first, before we conclude our business today, I would like to thank Todd for being our host. He does a great job. He also serves as the executive secretary of the Swim Coaches Association. I should also thank Doug for stepping up, for taking office, and I appreciate that. And Nate, for your service. And I also would like to thank you for running for the vice presidency of the parent organization. And I want to tell you that you're volunteering to do that. Your drive was noticed by the executive board, and they want to try to get you involved at that level. So that's exciting.
I sent you out to everybody I know.
Yeah.
Make sure they
So that's really great. I appreciate that. And your talents will certainly be put to use. All right.
Thank you.
And it was a very close election. It was very, very close. Kind of the thing that swung us is there's way more basketball programs in the state than there are swimming programs. And he was a basketball coach and his dad was a basketball coach. So it was no accident. So I'm really proud that we had a close election. However,
Yeah, Stupid Track Association, no.
they didn't step up and really help us the
They
way we
were,
thought they would.
the track association was encouraged.
Todd did his part.
That's right.
Okay.
No communication.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Nice one.
Less than an hour, you guys.
There's, Todd, you seconded?
And quickly.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.